Hi, I'm Chayale.
Hi, I'm Hindi. Welcome to Your Relationshift. Join in our conversation where we explore
The nuance and beauty of Tura's perspective on relationships.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Relationshift's episode 9. We're so excited to get practical with your responses about trust the connection. So let's go.
Okay. Yay.
Yeah. So one of our listeners reached out and said that it's really challenging. Her husband asks her to refer to him as Tati. And he wants to call her mommy in front of the kids. And for some reason, it really bothers her. Now, this was just a written response to our invite last week to give us some examples. So we haven't fully explored this with this listener, but we'll just expound on it and kind of try to flesh through it and see if we could come to a good conclusion over there. How do you feel, Chayale?
Sounds like a good one.
Yeah.
What do you think is really bothering her?
I feel like it could be a few things. So let's just say like superficially, there could be like an association with Tati Mami. Like I don't want to feel like um my mother-in-law, or I don't want to feel like sometimes it could feel like a funny association thing that could just be bothering her. I don't think it's that. I think it's something deeper. Otherwise, why would she be writing in?
Right.
Yeah. Something she did say was she feels like she wants to be a wife first before a mommy. That was like the end of the message, and that was it. And I think that's kind of indicating what's coming up for her, where she doesn't want her husband to only look at her as the mother of his children. She wants to also feel like his wife.
Yeah. So with him calling her mommy only, that's confirming her fear that he doesn't see her as his wife. He only sees her or predominantly he sees her as the mother of his children, as opposed to this is my wife and she's also the mother of my children.
Yeah. And I kind of want to like zoom out with this example because I feel like this feeling of I first want to be wife before mother can come up, I think, for almost everybody. So in ways, I just want to thank this listener who submitted this query. And instead of it just being about her, because we're kind of like digging deep and some things might be right and some things might be not right, I kind of want to just like zoom in and say, hey, this is all of us. And if this is relatable, which it should be probably, let's explore it together. Because I don't want it to be this listener's only lived experience, right? It's not like we're not tearing apart her experience here, but let's just make it actually more broad because I know I could definitely relate to that feeling.
Yeah, it's a good point. We don't actually know the details of her life, and she's just given us a springboard to explore this. I do think it goes back to, it might even go back to ourselves in terms of struggling with our own self-perception. Has my identity become completely mother? Do I see myself as a wife or an individual woman who is also a wife and also a mother? And yeah, what are the associations with mother that it's maybe making it feel like not the best thing for my husband to be pointing out. So I have to kind of figure out inside myself why it's triggering, I guess. And what is it that I want in my relationship with my husband? It's like an indicator. Every trigger is an indicator, a message. Probably that you have a desire, maybe also a fear. Usually the fear is covering up the desire or a belief. So in general, that's just a great way to look at things that are bothering us, especially if they come up regularly. It's a message. It's an
Mm-hmm.
indicator. Look at this. What truth does it carry? What message does it carry? Where can it bring me? Where can it lead me?
Mm, beautifully said. I like to think of it as like indicator lights on a plane, like it's the path showing you where you have to go. But any sort of response, like an emotional response, some sort of trigger is showing you the way. I love that you're saying that. And I love that the first thing that you went to immediately was, it sounds like essential value. Like, okay, this sounds like a question of going within. Am I not valuing myself as a person? Am I not valuing myself as a mother? Like, what about this is bothering me? It's not necessarily so much about him. There's something here that is bothering me, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, as one possible option, maybe
Yeah.
even ownership. Do I give myself space in my life to be
Mhm.
anything other than a mother? Do I have a self expression that isn't exclusively my role as mother? Do I have a space to show up? Have I given myself that space? That's an ownership question. Yeah, those are just possible options of why this is coming up.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I feel like we hear this often where one of the things that a woman will feel resentful about is like her husband could just like get up and go to the gym. And I think we've spoken about this before, but oftentimes that resentment is coming from a space of she would like to get up and go to the gym. Like that's a desire that she would like. And she just doesn't feel like there's space enough for her to do something like that. So it's
Mm,
bringing resentment against her husband. Whereas maybe technically she wouldn't really care that her husband's going to the gym. Like she's kind of fine with it. But the fact that he's going and she's not is what makes her feel sad, upset, resentful.
yeah.
So, right? So, like, what I'm hearing you say is there's a piece over here where she could actually go inside and recognize, like, there's a resentment here. Where is it coming from? Is it more of a thing that I have to explore, or is it something that's bothering me about him? And here, it sounds like it's maybe something that has to do with her, essential value, ownership, um, and like that resentment piece. I want to explore a little bit more.
Mm,
So what I'm hearing is there's some sort of resentment there, meaning I'm not sure if it's really I want to be wife before my husband's children's mom. It sounds more like uh, there's a desire I want to be a wife,
mm,
and I'm missing that. There's something in our relationship that's missing. Either it's emotional connection or she's feeling some sort of sense of loss because she's feeling like they haven't gone on their date night in a really long time. And there's something there brewing that feels like loss of connection. And that's why she's not feeling like wife before mother. I don't think it's really about wife before mother, because if she had a strong sense of connection, I don't think that would be coming up. It's okay.
mm,
You have your roles. Like, you have both of those roles. It doesn't have to be one more than the other. But because there's this sense of loss of connection or lack of connection, that's what's making her respond in that way, I think. And then when I say her, I'm saying the her and all of us.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's reminding me of a woman who shared with me once. I think it's similar to what you're saying, feeling like her only source of connection with her husband is around their children, is that they
Mm,
are parents of the same children. That's what they talk about. That's when they connect. That's what they check in about. And it feels like their whole relationship is centered around their children. Um, so I think that's what you're speaking to, where in that case, it feels like there's something missing. I want to connect, as a couple, as friends, as two adults who, are married to each other, not only because we're raising children together. It is a very consuming it is very consuming. It can consume a whole relationship. Children, thank God, are, they take over in that way. So it's a lot of a lot of times it could happen to a couple that their relationship gets completely consumed
Mm.
by the parenting.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it also links to what you were saying before. Like, I know for myself that just as a wife, as a woman myself, for not forget about the relationship, but aside from the relationship, I could just personally get consumed by my children and not end up being Hindi unto herself. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
if
Yeah.
I'm not me unto myself, then in a way, even if my husband wants to connect with me as a person, and have like just us as a relationship, not just as parents, it's going to be hard to connect to me when I'm like, my breakfast is finishing up their cereal bowls and, my exercise is running with them to the door of school. Those are just funny examples, but I'm saying like,
Mhm.
who am I? Where am I? Do I have ideas to talk about? Am I alive? Do I feel excited about life? Or am I just like trying to get through the day? There doesn't feel like there's anybody home to connect to. So that's an
Mm.
ownership that
Mm.
I definitely had to take. And I'm kind of linking back to what you were saying, that essential value piece also had to kind of be explored. Like, who am I? I feel like we're just extrapolating even a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. To actually first be somebody that has something else to talk about. It takes a lot of for a lot of women that's not a small feat. Like that takes a high level of intention in how they're operating, um, to be exploring interests and passions and things outside of just being a mother, and then have something to share about that. Yeah. And then let's say in terms of her husband, and in terms of their relationship, once she's taken ownership, once she's gotten this going, possibly it could flow naturally. But if it doesn't, because there's just a pattern that they're used to, what can she do then to honor that desire in her relationship?
Yeah. Beautiful. So I think the first thing is to like just like mentally reset with just the connection. Meaning
Mm.
if the underlying issue is well, here's the thing. It could be a few different things. Like what I'm hearing from you is the underlying issue is um, a desire that hasn't been voiced.
Well, yeah, I guess why I'm thinking of that is because let's say if she is experiencing loss of connection, so then that usually is attached or follows up with a desire for a connection in some form. But I think what you said, which is very important, is the grounding herself on trust the connection. So, which is going to be true in all scenarios. And I think that's kind of the function of our repetition here of different examples is everything could be catastrophic if this means we're not connected, or everything could just be okay. I want something, I need to take ownership, or I feel, but I'm on stable ground and everything's okay. um so the difference between like I do have the floor underneath me or I don't, and that's where the trust, the connection comes in. So if my husband's calling me, only referring to me with the term mommy, and I don't trust the connection, then I'm completely going to be devastated and unraveling, because this is just another indicator. This is another proof that we don't have a good relationship and we're not deeply connected, and we don't have a good marriage. So when you say, okay, first, the stabilizing piece here is we are connected. We are a unit. I can trust that connection, as we've said here, that is an unmoving, unshakable truth. And then if you want to lean into desire, I want to, because we are connected, I want to spend time with my husband outside of parenting or not in the context of co-parenting our children. So from the space of trusted connection, because we're connected, not to confirm to me that we're connected, or not to create connection that we don't have, or to build a relationship that doesn't exist, but because we are connected. It could be anything. I want to go out, just sharing with your husband, I'd love to spend time with you.
Mm-hmm.
If she has a specific way that she wants to spend time, even better. I would like to go to the beach. I would like to go on a hike. I would love to go out to eat, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be a pure, wonderful desire on the grounds if it comes from a place of trust. Can you speak to that? What it would look like when it doesn't come from a place of trust? When you express a desire in that way?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it looks really, it ends up looking really needy. It's kind of like grasping at straws. I feel like I'm falling off a cliff, I'm like reaching for something that I don't really believe is really there, but I like still need to reach at it and claw at it. All of that energy comes forward when I'm asking for something that's not there, right? So, by the way, even if I ask, like, if I express a desire for more time together, it could still sound like that. So it's a
Mm,
little dangerous also to ask for more time together when you have that emotional experience of we are not connected, because it ends up sounding really needy or demanding. And what it's essentially saying, like what is the subtitle of what you're saying is we don't spend enough time together. You're not spending, you're not giving me enough attention, and we are not, as opposed to we are. Right. So if I were to reset and really feel like, no, we are connected and he doesn't have to prove his connection, and I would love to spend more time together, or I would love to go out on a date night, or I'd love to go bowling, whatever it is, then it doesn't have that energy any longer. But if you're coming full force with your energy, and I feel like we could all relate to this, having probably all have had this experience where we said like, I would love to spend some time. And he's like, I'm busy. Like, I need to do something on my phone. You asked me to do this, because it almost sounds like an attack or it almost sounds like an attack. Like, we're not spending enough time together. I don't feel connected. Please, let's fix this. And as a husband, he doesn't want to feel like he's not doing a good enough job making you feel loved. Like, he essentially wants to make you feel loved. That's one of the primary goals of his life. And then you coming to him and saying, we're not connected, is a real blow. So, yeah. So just to kind of trying to like share what could be happening when she sees on her husband's face that experience of like, I don't want to go out. No, right? That
yeah.
shutdown, that is what might be happening if she's trying to connect from a space of lack the connection.
I
As
can fill
opposed
in.
to,
I can fill in one more piece. Usually, why that response comes is because at some point in the relationship, I think this is the pattern. When a woman reaches out from a place of lack, from a place of neediness, from a place of not trusting the connection, and her husband does respond, okay, fine, let's spend time. It never works.
mm,
And that's the whole key to why trust the connection is so important. So he puts down his phone. He's like, okay, let's spend time. That's not what I meant. Like she'll say, oh, that's not what I meant. I wanted to, okay, so we'll go on a date. No, but we weren't really connecting on the date because like he wasn't present. And he got distracted and it was short. Or somehow it just never ends up working. So even if a man has responded to that desire and it didn't come from the right place, it came from a needy place in her, and he wanted to respond. He wanted to try and fix it. It's not fixable.
mm,
So there's a lot of this. He's going to keep striking out. And then you get to the conversation where she says, I really want to spend time. And he says, no, I'm busy. I have too much going on. It's
Mm,
basically a way of saying, like, I've been down this road, I've tried it, it doesn't work.
right.
I can't fix this. And he's right, he can't, because it's the problem is in me, in the individual, whether or not I'm trusting the connection.
Yeah. So it's almost like a band-aid. Like she's trying to grasp at straws, and then he goes out with her and they somewhat connect, and she could even walk away feeling like, oh, okay, that was nice. Like it was nice. We went out, we honored the fact that we are a couple, not just parents. So that felt a little bit good, right? But still there's this underlying experience of, I'm not sure. There's still a question. I had to ask him. That's only when I asked him, that's when you responded. And just like under the wraps, it's still churning that she doesn't feel like they're truly connected. So it was a band-aid, but it wasn't a true full circle healing experience for her.
Hmm.
Yeah, totally. Agreed. And he knows that. And you're right. Like he doesn't feel like he could actually change it because try as he might, he can't go inside her and let her know, physiologically, emotionally, and intellectually that he loves her and that he wants to be her husband. It's just something she has to fully receive inside herself. He's trying to tell her when he put down his phone or when he said, okay, let's go out, and stops everything in order to give that to her. But there's still this gnawing experience in her stomach, in her throat, wherever, presents itself, um, that she's afraid that they're not connected. Because I'll tell you, if we go deep, it's hard for a woman to truly believe that someone loves her unconditionally. It could be
Hmm.
really hard for her to receive that for whatever reason. Every woman has her own story. But I think that it's something that might take time and really a lot of self exploration to truly understand, believe, receive the generosity of someone loving you unconditionally. And that's something to explore too.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a really important point, something to think about, a woman to think about for herself. um, is that at the core of her rejection, that whatever does come to her, she can't receive because she can't accept that someone is loving her, committed to her on this level, in this way, fully. Um, and there's so much that she can, there's so much that she could pile on that to build a case for, you know, I see that he doesn't. I see that he's not fully committed. I see that he doesn't fully show up. I see that it's not about me and whether or not I can receive. He's just not giving in that way. So as soon as he performs at a certain level, then I'll believe it. That's always how we think. He's going to confirm that for me. Um, I don't know that it can work that way, or that
Right.
I think people have tried it. Um, and like you said, if it's a self-worth thing, that I don't believe that someone could be there for me in that way. So how could they fix that for you? How could the other person fix that for you?
Right. It's hard. It's hard because when a young man and young woman get married, um, it's like a deep relationship immediately. It's an essential bond immediately. And really, it takes time to kind of get your mind wrapped around something like that. Like when you're born to your parents, it's a lot easier for you to come to that because you have some years to recognize and prove to recognize that this person deeply cares. There's been a lot of ups and downs with that parent, that other parent. And so like there's grace. But entering into a relationship like marriage, um, it's huge, right? It's a huge thing to just like jump into trusting someone and trusting the relationship and knowing that this person's got your back. And so I just want to make space for that young woman in me and in everyone else who it was hard. It was hard to trust And again, I don't want to say blindly. I want to say jump into like wholly trusting that person instead of putting up a block because I'm so scared because I can't even imagine that someone would just like have met me 4 months ago and decide that they want to love me unconditionally. And like, here we are, because it is hard to fully receive that. And so I just want to make space for that. And at the same time, and by the way, it's also hard for him to wrap his head around it too. So then starts this kind of relationship of like, is he really trustworthy? And he's like, I don't know, am I really trustworthy? And so the dynamic ensues, until 10 years down the line, suddenly there's this question of, are we even connected, or are we just partners in
Mm.
parenting our child? Because there's been
Yeah.
so much of that question lingering all the time. And so again, it takes time for that to sink in, for a woman to really believe it, because we we love to question, we love to tear things apart and analyze. And stepping into an unconditional love is kind of stepping away from the analysis and just fully receiving, stepping into much more of like that height, that humility, and that delight, and less thinking about the Bina and the Gevura. Is he really loving me? Is it true? And testing it. So it's very nuanced. So here we are at this place where we suddenly have all this knowledge of trusting the connection being a huge, huge piece in a relationship and has tremendous impact on the relationship. So what to do now? What can she do? How can she reset herself so that she can now be creative in her relationship instead of constantly questioning it?
Yeah. I think that was a really important piece to bring, that it's not, it's a big deal to be in this type of relationship, and it takes time. We know that it takes time to really build a deep love, build a strong connection. So we want to manage our expectations in terms of ourselves. And yes, I think that we what we're saying here with trust the connection is that it is only going to build if we decide to trust it. If we decide to trust it, whatever it is today, and trust its potential to grow.
Right.
Um,
Beautiful.
so yeah, I think.
So, like, let's say, like, what's going through her mind? Like, we're saying, trust the connection, trust the connection. What does that look like? So let's kind of give an outline, like tick boxes. Here are a few different ways that you could kind of change your paradigm, change your perspective on the situation, right? So she's looking at her husband and she's thinking, I want to be a wife, not just a mother. Uh, what we were saying earlier was like there's an underlying desire of connection. She wants to go out with him on a date night. Really, there's more essentially something missing where she's just afraid that they're not connected. So, how can she just like rewind and come back to herself? So, the first thing we were talking about earlier was trusting the connection, is knowing that there's that commitment right when we get married. There's that commitment and it's still there. We're still married. We are essentially connected. Let me lean on that. That's a very like essential bond. It's a reset. It's a coming back to our one soul. Another avenue that might feel a little bit more intuitive to a woman would be to think, okay, we are connected. I can see that. I have proof in so many ways. I can see in so many ways that he shows up for me. Let me list them. Let me go through them. Let me reset myself by reminding myself all the ways that I do see my husband show up for me. Okay, that might feel
Yeah.
like a little bit easier, more reachable for a woman.
More tangible.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Another way a woman might be able to feel trust the connection is to go back to a moment, literally to just like think about a moment where she felt really connected to her husband. It's using the power of visualization and bringing herself back to that space. so that she could relax her body and kind of reset her body from what it was feeling like, this feeling like I have to run and grab and give myself connection. No, I remember a time where we were deeply connected. I felt it then. I know it's there. Let me lean on that.
Yeah, I love
Right?
that.
Because yeah, you want to like bring your body, bring yourself back to that space. And you could use that kind of like memory or visualization as as a springboard. You could use it as a resource to bring yourself back to who you are and your bond. Because, right, just like we're doing for the opposite, where we're saying, I could see this way and that way and this way, how we're not connected. Yesterday, when this happened, it felt awful. So I'm doing the exact same things, just for the opposite. Like I'm using a bad visualization to create feeling lack of connection. I'm using all the different examples to show myself how he doesn't show up for me. So let me use the things that I'm using already and just turn them around and use them for connection instead of lack.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Another piece that I think, and I'll just bring this in, maybe it's just different language of the same thing that I've been saying, but your power of receptivity is like a really important piece over here. So thinking like, yes, right. I just want to speak to the woman out there who's thinking, I have a lot of proof that we are not connected. And she's feeling overwhelmed by the immense amount of proof of lack of connection. So I just want to bring this over here. This is a very creative principle. So if she is feeling like she has immense proof for lack of connection for good reason, I think an immense thing to do here would be to say, I want to grow our connection. So yes, I'm seeing a lot of lack of connection. Maybe I don't have a memory. Maybe I literally don't have one memory to lean on. Maybe I don't even have one proof that this person actually cares about me. And if a person is not in that situation, it's immensely painful, and I hear you. And at the same time, the creativity and the power of receptivity is that she can grow the connection by receiving that connection. So instead of looking at all the ways that she's not connected, she's going to say, okay, essential bond, I know we are, because right now we're still married, and I'm open to receiving more connection. And so let's say, like coming to what you were saying, I want to share a desire of, let's do this, or I want to share something with him. Like I want to be a vehicle for change in my relationship, and coming from a space of we are connected. So even though we're sitting, like, let's say at the kitchen table, kids are asleep, he's looking at his phone, it feels like there's a wall over here, I'm going to just crumble that wall. It's not there. And I'm going to approach him, look at him from a space of we are connected. And I'm just going to share with him about my day. Like just knowing that I know we are connected somewhere deep down, and I'm going to approach this relationship right now from that place instead of the extreme opposite, which it could have been like what we were describing before, the grasping at straws, the like feeling like her throat is closing as she's trying to share with him her day, but it's coming from an energetic space that's totally different. So he's not going to respond, right? Because she's so needy. And it's coming from a place of lack, as opposed to, I know we are. We are, and I'm just going to share. And I feel different because I'm seeing my essential value, and I know that I want to create something here. There's so much conscious creative energy there that I think is infectious, that would create a lot of change for her. Maybe not right away, but it would go somewhere.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I love
Takes
that.
a lot of courage. Takes a tremendous amount of courage to trust the connection when you feel like there's nothing to lean on. But I do want to put that out there.
Yes. Yeah. That's super important. And very well said.
Thank you. So I feel like we gave a lot of good examples. There were a few more responses. We'll try to get to them with our next episodes, but thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Send us more.
Yeah. See you next time.
Challenge us. We would love to hear your feedback, thoughts, and questions.
Please leave a comment below or email us at yourrelationship@gmail.com.
Looking forward to connecting with you.
See you next time.